Howdy, y'all. It's me, Dr. Edwards, again. This time back for our last module, Module 8. Module 8, let's see here. That is Reflecting upon Ethical Issues in Anthropology. Flip my screen back. There we go. And we got some, well, I think they're really cool. Some great case studies. And it's also really nice because we've kind of come full circle. All right. If you hear banging on the roof, they're doing work on my place. So please excuse any of the strange sounds you hear. Anyway, focusing back on Module 8 and our readings, you get a look at some really kind of in-depth case studies and solutions of some real-world ethical dilemmas that anthropologists have had to face. All right. And this is actually, I posted this back at the beginning of the term in my key resources for ethics and anthropology resources announcement. I had the AAA Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct, all that. And I also included a link to this handbook on ethics and anthropology. By, who is it? Sue Ellen Jacobs, all right? And it's 12 case studies, and it gives you the setup, and then it kind of identifies the ethical dilemma, and then it gives you what actually the anthropologist did, all right? And then it also offers some kind of critique, some responses from other anthropologists and the issues that they might have with what the person actually did. So I wanted to take a little time and kind of go through a couple of these with you, kind of show you how to look at them, how to reflect on them. So let's go. Here we are. Oh, sorry. As soon as I flip the screen, my video monitor goes away. Okay. Let's see here. This case number 1. This is a good one. Let's see here. I want to float my video on top so I don't lose it again. Case number 1 is to medicate or not to medicate. All right, like to be or not to be. And so I'm going to bring this on up. And this is all about an anthropologist named Terry Kelly, and she was doing research in the Western tropics, and she was living and working with a community that has malaria. Okay. And she had a lot of malaria drugs, anti-malarial drugs, that were prescribed to her by her doctor when she went to go do her field work. Now, I gotta tell you, I've been in this exact position before, right? A couple of times, actually more than a couple. So what Kelly's dilemma is since she had such a large supply of medication, much more than she needed for her personal use, should she distribute the surplus to her hosts, all right? The people that she's living with, the people that are suffering from malaria, all right? Now, I gotta say, there tends to be kind of two perspectives here. One, that she should, all right? That it's the humane thing to do. That she actually has a moral obligation to provide that medication to the local host community. And there's the other side that, I got to say, I don't agree with her logic about what she actually did. Her rationale that, if she gives medication, anti-malarial medication, to her host community, that would interfere with developing some natural resistance to malaria. FYI, Kelly, that's not how malaria works. At a genetic level, yeah, you can develop sickle cell anemia, but we're talking about a completely different process there, and it's not a resistance to, it's more of a biological snafu that allows you to live with it, and it still ain't comfy. All right? Anyway, so I'm going to share a bit about my own personal experience with this. It actually started when I was a Peace Corps volunteer. In the Peace Corps, I was in Mali, West Africa. And there's a lot of malaria, 3 different types of it in Mali, one of which is deadly. what is it called? Cerebral malaria. And it'll kill you within 48 hours to a week. It's nasty stuff. Every year, there's a couple of Peace Corps volunteers that die because of it. It's really unfortunate. However, most cases of malaria are I forget the specific name for it, but it's the lesser version, if you would. All right. And the way it works is you get this really high fever and just bone shaking chills. And I can tell you this from personal experience. I have malaria for life. Yeah, because of my experience in West Africa. Now, in the Peace Corps, they give you all the drugs you want, right? I was prescribed a drug called mefloquine. Interesting thing, it's banned all over the world except in the U.S. They don't even give it to the U.S. Military, all right, because it causes psychological issues. Yeah, kind of a funny thing. You're sending all these Peace Corps volunteers to these malaria zones and doping them up on psychotics. We used to have a joke. We would call it Mefloquine Mondays, and everyone, you take it once a week. It's called a malaria prophylaxis. It just prevents it from developing in your system, from metabolizing, actually. But it's not 100%, all right? It's actually only about 80% effective. And in my first year, I developed malaria. And yuck, not fun. And interestingly, at the time when I developed it, I turned to the local community for help because they had all sorts of things that they used for malaria, to treat malaria. Some of it effective, some of it more placebo. That's from a Western scientific perspective. So, I did have folks regularly approach me for medicines. Now, interestingly, it wasn't everybody. It was just folks that, I developed a relationship with. They were friends. They were colleagues. And because I have, I used to be an EMT, swiftwater rescue technician. I have this innate need to help. I can't withhold medication from somebody that needs it, right? And that's everything from an aspirin to anti-malarial drugs. Now, there are some real issues involved, like what happens when, I leave, right? Who do these people turn to then? Is it okay to become this primary resource and not have that be a sustainable thing? Yeah, it creates some issues. So yeah, be sure to read what Kelly actually did, and definitely read over the responses. People are like, "What? Why did she?" And yeah, you can see there's some contention here. Let me pick another one. Flip on back. Let's see here. Field notes. Field notes are, to put it mildly, they are just some of the most important things that we have as anthropologists, right? These are our personal insights, observations of the things that we're doing and seeing when we're doing field work, all right? And it can be everything from the genealogy of a village, right? All the hereditary relationships and marriage relationships. It could be, the folks that I work with. A lot of them are called poachers by the West. These are traditional hunters. And there are laws in place about that they're violating. Both national and international bodies of law concerning protected species. Now, I have to be really, really careful to ensure that all of my people are protected, right? All the folks that I work with are guaranteed uh, um, uh, anonymity. I cannot let my field notes out of my control. All right, I can't let anyone have access to them, and I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's a policeman. I don't care if it's some federal judge. No, that is the property of the anthropologist. All right, and as this case study about who owns field notes outlines, um, the company that hired Vaughn to do this social impact assessment, right? They demanded his field notes, and they can't do that, right? It is not normal, and this is a big if people. Well, the lesson to learn from this, I guess the best way to say it is whenever you're doing contract work like that, you need to specifically address how your field notes will be dealt with, right? When I do contract work like this, it is always written in that no party aside from me has rights to those field notes. Right? I will give preliminary reports. All right. I will even give raw data. All right. But none of that data identifies anyone in particular. Okay. There's always pseudonyms used, things like that. And even then, I got to be really careful. I got to change the names of places. Um, these issues are critically important because you develop trust with the folks that you work with, and you cannot violate that absolutely under no circumstances. And I've actually been shaken down a couple of times by by various government officials. The Ozafere Water and Forest Department in Mali. I was loosely associated with them, and they really wanted details about the folks that I was working with, and I would not give it to them. I would not share my field notes. I did give them raw species data about what critters were being harvested and where they were being harvested, general region, not specific locations. But yeah, just to protect the identity and the rights of the folks that I was working with. Yeah, so be sure to read over Vaughn here, the Vaughn example about who owns the field notes. That's a good one. That kind of connects to, well, let's see here. Anonymity declined. Sometimes the folks that we work with, they want to be known. They want their names out there. They want their village, their town, their community to be clearly identified. Think of it as like a badge of honor, a prestige factor. In my own work, there are. I just explained how I protect the identity of my consultants. However, there are some consultants that I work with that are like, no, I don't want a fake name. I don't want a pseudonym. I want my name in there, right? And I understand and accept what happens as a result. And that's usually a very, lengthy conversation. I got to go through and make sure that they understand what might happen, all right? And only after that, after they've been given full disclosure and they decide, no, I want my name in there, all right? That's the only way I'll do it, all right? With only their express consent and only after full disclosure. One of my primary consultants, his name's Kara. He's very adamant about it. He says, no, you don't give me a fake name. I want people to know what I do. He's proud of it. And frankly, he's a lot more savvy about the local politics, right, and the local systems and how to negotiate those than I am as an outsider. All right. So yeah, this anonymity declined. This outlines about how a village, it's kind of cheesed that the anthropologist used pseudonyms and didn't properly identify the name of the village. And the way they dealt with it is kind of interesting. They tried to explore giving full disclosure to them. But yeah, check out Walton's decision here, and bang, bang, bang. And yeah, see what you think. Again, a lot of these are gray areas, right? Even though we might have, like the principles of professional responsibility say that, you have to protect the identity and well-being, the welfare of those with whom we work. Sometimes there are exceptions to that, and what I use is the barometer, the metric to assess is the people themselves, right? They express permission. They say, yes, I want you to use my name in this. I even have informed consent forms for those folks that want their names used, right? And that actually allows me a little bit of wiggle room, so I can, if anything does happen, I can still try to protect their identity. Anyway, let's see here. Let's look at another one. Hot gifts. I remember this one. This is Rose Stone, and she's working in an urban neighborhood with strategies for survival used by low-income residents. Right? Well, theft might be one of those strategies, and she's offered stolen goods, hot goods, right? And she does. I really like how she deals with it. She doesn't want to upset or violate the trust that she's developed with her host community. So she has to be really careful how she deals with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, read the reader's responses here. They're really good. I particularly like that the gift was a test. All right. This happens all the time in field work. You're an outsider, and you're regularly, challenged and sized up, measured. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. I once had a special meal prepared for me, right? It's called Ba Kunglo Na, which means goat head sauce. Yummy, right? And I gotta say, this is one of the hardest things I've had to literally stomach as an anthropologist. It's a goat head, a whole goat head, all right? And, fur, horns, everything, and it's thrown in a pot with some onions and tomatoes and stuff, and it's boiled for like a whole day. And then they let it sit for a whole day. Then they reheat it, and then you eat it. And wow, talk about challenging my my ethnocentrism, my stepping out of my comfort zone. I've eaten lots of weird things, but the my own cultural values of disgust, right? Bits of hair and stuff like that in there just really revolted me, and I had a really hard time. But the whole thing was a test, right? They were sizing me up to see how far I would go to respect their values and beliefs, right? This sort of thing happens all the time, and the best advice I can give is that you're never going to be perfect, right? But if you try, right, and people see you try, that counts for a lot, right? I will never be Malian, all right? I don't pretend to be. It may seem to you all that I know everything about the place, but no, I know I know this much about this much about this much, and I'm always learning new things. So yeah, this idea of being challenged, that it was a test, is an interesting perspective, and you'll see that quite frequently when you do field work. Let's see here. Witness to murder. This is a good one. I think I've shared with you all a very similar situation. I saw a guy get murdered. He was shot and killed in northern Pakistan, and yeah, there was no government involvement. There were no police or anything like that came and asked questions. No, it didn't even go that far. And that actually, I never had to face this sort of issue where the police are asking. But yeah, I at first I was quite shocked, but after learning kind of the inside story, and particularly the cultural values and the cultural norms at play in the situation, it was all on the up and up from the local perspective, right? No local had a problem with it, right? So that really informed how I dealt with it. And so, if I was in the situation of Mary Thompson here, I'd probably do the same thing. I would not, as I said before, I don't let my field notes out of my control. So yeah, I would definitely not give that up. Let's see. What's another one? Case of falsified data. Now, I gotta say, there's this sort of stuff happens pretty frequently, and it's really unfortunate. People often, we sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. The case of Napoleon Chagnon, and essentially using the data he collected to support a very narrow perspective and a fairly singular perspective at that. There are other cases. Jared Diamond, he's a pretty famous guy. He did work in Papua New Guinea and apparently made it all up. Wow. Not cool. All right. There's substantial professional backlash from the anthropological community. You can't do that. You can't make things up. It's false representation. Now, I do know folks that, will use kind of and sometimes it's to protect anonymity, to protect the identity of the folks with whom we work. You might use things that you saw in a couple of different situations and kind of create a composite, all right? But you got to be careful, right? And you got to preface it as being, using local perspectives, values, beliefs. Here is the sort of situation, right? So you're setting it up as being an abstract example, okay? That's really different than saying, yeah, John did X and John never did X, right? That's where you don't cross that line. No. And that should be pretty obvious. Yeah, let's see here. Case of the missing artifact, right? This kind of connects to some of our CRM stuff that we've looked at. Yeah, this one gets me scratching my head because I'm like, I love my research too, and I have various bits and pieces that, come home with me, and you've seen me show you some pieces in these videos. But this guy collects artifacts, and I personally find that is unethical. All right, he knows that these things belong to various groups. In fact, he's the expert. He's the person that knows who they belong to. And somehow he rationalizes that he has the rights to hold on to these things when he knows they should be repatriated. That just kind of rubs me the wrong way, frankly. Let's see here. His dilemma: should he offer the item in his possession to the religious leader? Should he even show the item to the religious leader? Or should he simply make a note regarding the missing religious piece and not disclose his personal possession to anyone in the community? That's just shady as all get out. No. You gotta, no. In fact, that may actually lead to some serious conflicts of interest. He's intentionally withholding something that he knows belongs to somebody. That to me clearly crosses a line. Anyway, I haven't gone over all of them here, but yeah, I definitely give these a good reading over, and consider them. More than that, look back to see what they kind of speak to from our past modules. Like this one about the case of the missing artifact. We've done a lot of this final project about cultural resources, right? And who has ownership? Well, here's a person that doesn't really have a right to it, regardless of if he paid for it or not. Yeah. I'm going to do up a separate little video for your final project part 2, give you some insights for that, so be sure to check that out. And, I got to say, I've had a wonderful term with y'all. It's been really great, particularly having this small class. You're going to learn about all the more, and help give you all the more one-on-one experience. Now, I've been really impressed with y'all and kind of the depth of your engagement and your critical thinking. These are all things that I really value, and I want to make sure that you hear that I've seen that hard work. I know how hard it can be to balance personal life, work, family, getting free time somewhere somehow, and you guys have done some awesome work. Be proud of yourselves. Yeah, and this is something I always offer to all my students. In the future, if you ever need me, right, you got my contact information, right? Set it aside, keep it on hand, right? If you have a question that you think I might be able to help you with, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. I was really fortunate in my academic career to have some professors and mentors and advisors that really reached out and made themselves available, and I can tell you it made all the difference in my experience. All right, and it's my job to pay that forward. Right, they showed me a great method, a great style, and I've kind of adopted that. So please, if I can ever be of assistance, don't hesitate. I'm there for you. All right, guys. It's been a wonderful term. You have a great rest of your week, I guess. And yeah, I'll catch you some other time. Take care.